Greeting, brothers and sisters. Greetings. I salute you in the power of truth, justice, equality, and Islam, Christianity, Baha'i faith, Hinduism, whatever it may be, whatever God you may serve. I salute you now. And we give honor to who honor is due. We give honor to who honor is due. And we're very happy, very thankful to be with you in this period of time in history where we can show ourselves valid. Brothers and sisters, we are in the midst of Armageddon now. The battle has started. And I salute you in the name of Allah, the beneficent, merciful, master of the dear requital, the beneficent, merciful, the one and truly only God that has the welfare of man in mind when he said, let there be. A God that called peace to be in existence, a God that calmed the storms. We worship that God today, who is known by many names, for he says, I have many names. So we're thankful. We ask God to use us and guide us into righteousness. Guide us, guide our footsteps, not as the hypocrites, but guide our footsteps in righteousness. And we know that he will do that because he's a righteous God. So all praises is due to God, Allah, or Jesus, or whatever the name of your faith, Jehovah Jireh, whatever the name of your faith. We salute God and his intelligence to put his spirit down in man. For we see no separation, for there are many sheep. There are many sheep of many pastures, and each of them belong to God. He said, I have many sheep that are not of this fold. So I salute you today. I salute you. Brothers and sisters of many faiths, wherever you may be, I come to appeal to you. As we walk down this dark road, this dark history that we are forced to deal with. This history that we are forced to deal with. And I want to right now ask you all to have mercy on me because I'm so excited on this talk. It's something I've been waiting to do for years. A lot of people didn't know and don't believe. It just had no idea that Dr. King had a brother. He had a brother. His brother name was A.D. King. His brother also graduated from Morehouse. His brother was a major organizer in the King campaign, and he was a force to be reckoned with. He wasn't hungry for media attention, but all of the campaigns you saw, the organized campaign was King's brother zigzagging across the country, along with Coretta Scott King and Andrew Young. But it was his brother, his little brother, that did most of the organization. So I just thought that I'd let you know that. And we give praise unto God, and we call him by every religious name because we believe that God has sheep of many pastures, that there's one God, he's over all. And even in the fealty of men that have made mistakes, those that feel like that they're doing right, worshiping a certain God, even God, the God of the heavens, the universe, has mercy because he sees their heart. And that's why he tells us, if the heart don't condemn you, neither would I. But if the heart condemns you, am I not greater than your heart? So brothers and sisters, we are believers. And when we say the name believers, that covers everyone. I'm wise enough and intelligent enough to know that God has many people in many places that are serving him and doing his will. Brothers and sisters, we have a very hot topic tonight, a very difficult topic tonight. A very, 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 very difficult topic tonight. But we'll handle it. We will handle it. Because this is a time of great truth. It's a time of great truth. And we have to know it. And today we have to be willing to speak the truth. I'm not concerned about what Donald Trump does. I'm more concerned about mine, your response, and our own intelligence. And we have to deal with some things tonight. Brothers and sisters, we've got to deal with some things tonight that have festered for some time. In the few other segments ago, I dealt with the Rosa Parks fiasco. I call it the Rosa Parks farce, because we know that Rosa Parks wasn't the first one, even though they sold it that way. They sold it that way, and it's damaging to the legacy of others that stood out to make these changes. But tonight, we come to talk about a serious brother that dedicated his life to the movement, and they feared King, but when they saw what his little brother could do, they really feared him. They really feared him. It's like, who is this? Who is this? How do we contain him? Who is this and how do we contain him? So we in for some serious discussion tonight. I welcome those of you to come in. I welcome those of you to come in. Take part in this. Take part in this. We're going to have a heavy discussion tonight. The death of A.D. King. We got to talk tonight. Tonight, we got to talk. We'll be having a fireside chat like we've never had it before. This again is a very hot topic. You always judge your enemy, or rather judge your strengths by the power of your enemy. They came through, brothers and sisters, hung this brother, because before that he was on a trip with Coretta Scott King, Miss Coretta Scott King, and a trip with his wife. He flew ahead to get some organizing done and to have things prepared for them when they got back. Brother didn't make it. They caught him, put a rope around his neck, strangled him, probably hung him from a tree, and dumped his body inside of the swimming pool. They said he had no water in his body. So you had to rule out drowning. So we got an interesting subject to talk about tonight. This is real. A very interesting subject to talk about tonight, and this is real. This is real. You have to join in tonight. Many of you didn't even know that Dr. King had a brother. He had a brother. He had a brother named A.D. King. We ready to deal with A.D. tonight. We ready to deal with the death that he died and question who could have done this. Now, I know many of you already know, but just humor me for a minute. Humor me for a minute. Why was A.D. King killed? Why was he killed? You judge your strengths by the power of your enemy. Keep that in mind. This is how you judge your strength. Now, A.D. King was so important that the man that had to do this job didn't even want to be seen. Normally, they have a patsy to fulfill a mission. Like they use Lee Harvey Oswald against John F. Kennedy. But the secret plot to kill the mobilization machine of Dr. King's camp, this was an important person, which lets us know that they wasn't seen, they were possibly black. We're going to talk tonight because it was the black organization that called him when he was on vacation in the Bahamas with Coretta, Miss Coretta Scott King, and his wife and their children. It was somebody in the rear that called him. Somebody from his camp. See, this thing is so tight that in the civil rights movement, as well as any movement they had, including the Muslim movement, they had agents to invade inside of those movements. They invaded it. They got, and the only way for you to penetrate an organization is for you to either send somebody in or have somebody to sell themselves out, or have somebody to buy themselves in to the enemy. The only ways, 3 ways: buy yourself in, sell out, or they send somebody in. You don't want to miss tonight. You don't want to miss it. Because that's still a mystery, a shroud around who killed Dr. King's little brother. The major mobilizer, he was a major mobilizer of all the movement that King did. He was the one person that Dr. King could count on. Because there were preachers that didn't even want Dr. King coming into their pulpit. This is true. And all of the ones talking about they participated, they're lying. They're lying. So we got a question tonight. Who killed Dr. King's little brother? And I believe they were inside the camp. The government was behind it, yes. Of course, the government was behind it. But they used men from the inside the same way they used men in the Muslim movement when they killed Minister Malcolm. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to put our heads together and find out who was around him last. Now, when Dr. King was killed, Billy Cowles and Jesse Jackson did that job. Somebody said, hold on, brother. No, it's the truth. It's the truth. Billy Cowles and Jesse Jackson did the job of killing Dr. King. The facts are laid out. They were working with the government the entire time. The entire time. So the question tonight is, because if you stop the leader, then you got to stop the machine. The best way to stop the machine is to stop the leader first, then you can stop the machine. Right? They had to stop the machine. They had to stop the machine. The machine of the civil rights movement, the chief organizer was Dr. King's little brother. Nobody organized better than A.D. King. Dr. King himself and many others said that. Everybody else was just assistant. But A.D. King had a way of corralling people around him, church folk, people from the street, children. He could pull them all around. When it came to the farce on Washington, the march on Washington, you know it was a farce, brothers and sisters. We're grown now. We don't have to tiptoe through the tulips. We know it was a farce. That's why I don't get angry with Donald Trump. Why are you angry with Donald Trump for moving it? That wasn't worth the paper it was written on anyway. And besides, the white man's still killing you, still killing our kids. Do we want to talk about that? Do we want to deal with that? We are more segregated today than we have been in the past. And the schools are more segregated today than they have been in the past. So they're busting in the Mexican. I got too much love for the black man to lose any love for the brown man when I know they're not on our side. Coming out of country, now the ones that are here was born here and already building with black families and red families, that's different. People coming in so that these white folks can displace you and I from jobs. I got a problem with that. Displace us with the opportunity to open jobs. I got a problem with that. Joining the police force so they can beat you and I got a problem with that. Shouldn't I? Shouldn't I have a problem with that? I'm just asking, brothers and sisters. Shouldn't I have a problem with that? I think so. I think so. You should have a problem with that. And you should be investigating now. You should be investigating. Now that you see, out of everything, now that you see that the civil rights movement didn't mean anything, Utah statues didn't mean anything, now that you see and another devil is back on the throne because he's another devil, things are back to business as usual. Things are back to business as usual. What are you going to do, black man and black woman? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You already know what you have to do. Yeah, you know what you got to do. Yeah, you do. You know what you have to do. You already know. You already know. But since you know now what you have to do, what are you going to do? Because this man now, he's showing you what he's about. He's already showing you what he's about. He's already done the work. Right? He got in writing executive orders. Now, the executive orders don't mean much. Nonetheless, he got in, he got it done. He got it done, right? But for 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, he got a chance now to do everything that he said he's going to do. And he's learned, I can do these things through executive order. Now, the investors in America really don't want to be controlled by the federal government to give people jobs. They really don't want that. Because these violations of tariffs, it costs them every time a violation happens. Then these people can sue. So whoever they are, if you trust working for the system, I don't work for the system. I don't work for them. I don't trust them enough to work for anybody who has an independent business, because they're going to pay you right anyway. And you get over here with white folks that are racist, that's going to mistreat you. But for those of you that trust the system enough, you have every right to be upset. Because there are people that have died for that law, that piece of paper. There were people that died, but this is just an executive order. It'll have to go back once he leaves. And just because he's doing that, because it's coming from the top layer, you don't have to sit around letting white people treat you any kind of way if they're racist. Defend yourself. Right? But what I'm most concerned about is that he released these executive orders on who killed John F. Kennedy. How much information is really in that? Who killed Robert F. Kennedy? How much information is really in that we don't know? And the culprit is dead anyway. The culprit now is dead anyway. Been dead since 1974. Who killed Martin Luther King Jr.? They know. Filed a lawsuit and got compensated in 1999 that the government played a pivotal part in the killing of not only Dr. King, but the nation's top leader in 1963, John F. Kennedy. Then his brother in 1968, June 4th, I think, June 6th, 1968, Robert Kennedy was killed. John F. Kennedy was killed November the 23rd, 1963. And then Martin Luther King was killed April the 4th, 2 months before Robert Kennedy, April the 4th, 1968. So the government already knows. They already know. Presidents already know. But why is he telling us? Why did he want us to know? Why are they so afraid of Trump? He's racist like any other, but even the most racist of racists is afraid of Trump. He just released these documents. What's in these documents? Now we can get it. Starting tomorrow and a week later, we can literally pour down the whole Kennedy investigation file and find out who killed Robert, who killed John F. Kennedy, and who killed Martin Luther King. We can request these documents now. Now, with that being said, the inner part of these things, will it also answer who killed Dr. King's brother? Will it answer that? A lot of you didn't even know that Dr. King had a brother. A lot of y'all didn't know that Dr. King had a brother. A.D. King. An amazing organizer, an amazing person, an amazing pastor who cared about people. He was amazing. An amazing man who believed in God to such a point that he truly sacrificed himself for God and aided his brother. You didn't see any jealousy. You didn't see any backbiting, any attacking, or anything like that. They had a mission. They had a mission. Brothers and sisters, what is your mission today? What is your mission today? Is it to seek truth, put out truth for deliverance? Or is it just to get a bunch of likes or subscriptions? I don't know. What is your vision today? What do you want to do? We're in the midst of a race war, and we've got somebody who is guaranteed the black man that you're going to have to fight. He's guaranteed the black man you're going to have to fight yourself out of this. I mean, as a matter of fact, he's going to keep doing stuff to make you fight. Trump is in office now. We'll have to check and charter everything that comes before us. Because it's going to be the poor whites and the moderate whites and the working middle class white is going to be wreaking havoc on black folks right now. And I'm telling you not to take it. I stand here to tell you tonight, don't take it. Don't take it. Do whatever you have to do to save your life and keep the life of your family saved. God will respect you for that. God will respect you for that. God will reward you for looking out for your family. That I believe that's the thing that happened to AD. There wasn't enough because his brother had already been killed. But there wasn't enough family, I'm speaking socially now, around him and concern. Black people, everything you do has a price and a consequence. Stop thinking that you are standing up and after that you stood up and you're going to sing Kumbaya with the white man and whatever. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. When you make a stand, you are risking your life. You are sacrificing your life the same way that Jesus did, right? It's in the fabric of the African man and woman to do this. That's who you and I are, African. We're more African than a lot of people over in Africa. They're selling out to the white man. And you'll find out in the near future, excuse me, brothers and sisters, there are some of them that we're going to have to check and charter. We're going to have to get them in place because of their love of money, their greed, their love of fame, pride, and pride comes before fall. That's why God punished Africa when Africa began to be disobedient. You might as well say the African punished themselves and did the unthinkable thing. Sold one another in bondage. It's shameful. It's shameful, brothers and sisters. Very shameful. So we had a brother that was lost, casualty of war. Dr. King's own brother, his only brother that we know of, said the old man was busy back then, King Sr. But this is the only brother that we know of that Dr. King had. And once his life was taken, then his little brother didn't have any other male counterparts to really, really look up to. He had an uncle that was real close, that encouraged Martin and encouraged AD from when they was little. But other than that, the King family was a small family. And the people that should have been looking out for AD, seeing that he had just lost his brother, he has his wife, he also has the responsibility of Miss Coretta Scott King. There should have been enough security around traveling with him every day. Maybe that was the case. Maybe that's why our brother was here today and then gone tomorrow. So we have a challenge to investigate this. We have some investigation teams on it. But we need to investigate this and find out who in the camp aided in the death of A.D. King. We're going to read a little background on A.D. King. Read a little background. We put this link in here so you have that. Some of y'all want to look this over. But we're gonna look at our brother. We're gonna look at our brother. We need to find out what happened. We need to find out what happened. Because there's no clear story on our brother. No clear story. And I'm bothered by that. I'm bothered by that. That there's no clear story. And did he have security guards? Where were the security guards at that time? Where were they? So I'm curious to seek some answers. So curious to seek some answers. Because I feel like these things have gone unanswered for years. I would never say King didn't do anything. They did a lot. They did a lot. However, They were being manipulated to the point that they didn't understand what was going on. They really, really didn't know. Really didn't know what was going on. Eisenhower was using them, right, to divert a revolution that time had come. So it could pop up anywhere. Right now we have little scrimmages. Soon those scrimmages are going to grow. And a lot of them believe they believe this is something that they have to do. Racism is taught. I mean, when you look today, look at how insane it is that somebody would organize their time to kill an already oppressed people. That's strange. Very strange. None of this happened. Nonetheless, it happened. Never in a million years did anybody think that Trump would sign an executive order to eradicate the 1964-1965 amendments to the Constitution. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up if you try. But we're gonna read a little bit about AD, because you definitely should know this was a good brother. This was a good brother. People tried to play him and Martin against one another. He's like, nope. I'll follow my brother, whatever he does, and I'll organize it. But he wouldn't. Nobody could get him to play the Judas against his brother. Well, we can't find that. Then what we need to do now, is we need to get rid of this guy. We got rid of Dr. King. But here's the major organizer here, A.D. King, Alfred Daniels. And we got to do something about this brother. He's too strong. He's too powerful. He's too intelligent. He's too humble. He organizes so well. We got to do something about him. And besides, who would be a better heir apparent to Dr. King since he looked just like King? Had the charisma of King. He even was a little cooler. He could really reach people. He had a way with him. Dr. King commanded respect, but AD commanded an audience. Tough brother. Tough brother. If he was alive today, he would be about 94, 95. 95. A.D. King, Alfred Daniel King. Born July the 30th, 1930. Died July the 21st, 1969. He almost made his birthday. But as you can see, he was very young when he passed. Very young. Very young when he passed. Brothers and sisters, it's all too regular. We see our leaders being killed. It's just all too regular. And I say this, the timing of it is amazing because Trump is coming into office. He's releasing people from incarceration that have killed black people. Now, with that being said, don't you see that the writing is on the wall? Have you not looked in the skies to see the coming of intelligence, the coming of your enlightenment? I'm just asking. Alfred Daniel King, an American Baptist minister and civil rights activist. He was the younger son of Martin Luther King Sr. and the younger brother of Martin Luther King Jr. Alfred Daniel King was born on July the 30th, 1930 in Atlanta, Georgia. You know his father, Martin Luther King Sr. You know his mom, Alberta Williams King, right? The youngest son of 3 children, right? The other siblings being Willie Christina, right? And then Martin Luther King Jr., who Willie Christina is later known as Christina King Ferris. She was born on September the 11th, 1929. No, she was born on 27. September 11, 1927, and Martin Luther King was born January the 15th, 1929. In contrast to the peacemaking brother, Martin Luther King, A.D. King, according to his father, was a little rough at times, and he let his toughness build a reputation throughout the neighborhood when he's coming up. So he was sort of tough. Less interested in academics than his siblings. King stated that he was a little different. He was a little tough, sort of roughneck, but very intelligent, because they also stated he didn't have to study. He had a knack of wisdom of things. Now, A.D. King started a family of his own while he was still a teenager. A lot of people didn't know that. And he attended college later in life. He was married on June 17, 1950. So he was what? That would make him 20 years of age. To Naomi Ruth Barber King. She was born November the 7th, 1931. We talked about her. This is the individual that was, or his wife that was on vacation with Miss Coretta Scott King and their children. Now, Naomi Ruth Barber King, with whom he had 5 children. Alveda, a lot of people know Alveda because she's pretty well known. Alveda is an American activist, author, and former state representative for the 28th district in Georgia House Representative. So a lot of people know her. She's pretty well known. She is pretty well known. Okay. Now, you had Alfred Jr., his oldest son. Then you had Derek, Darlene, and Vernon. Vernon was named after Vernon Johns, an influential pastor when King and them were younger. He was in King's father's days. And he was a very strong man, an influential pastor named Vernon John. And he had that sermon, that speech that would later influence Dr. King and his brother and his father. Vernon John was a powerhouse, a trailblazer when it came to this human rights activism. Now, back to A.D. King. Although as a youth, King had strongly resisted his father's ministerial urgings. He eventually began assisting his father at Ebenezer Baptist Church. In 1959, King graduated. This is A.D. King, Martin King's younger brother. A.D. graduated from Morehouse College. That same year, he left Ebenezer Baptist to become a pastor of Mount Vernon First Baptist Church in Newman, Georgia. Now, Newman, Georgia is a metro Atlanta city in the county seat of Coweta County, Georgia. It's about 40 miles, about 64 kilometers southwest of Atlanta, and its population during that time that he was there was around 50,000. Around 50,000. They decreased a little bit in 2020, but still a well-known city. Still a well-known city and recognized city because of his service there. Also, we need to point out his involvement in the civil rights movement. Martin was the kind of person that would find things middle of the road. He was older. So he was always, the oldest son at least. He always found himself in the middle of things, even in the middle of his parents. His brother, he would take a stand. If he had something to say, he's going to say it. And I understood that the old man king could be pretty forceful at times. Today they call it abusive. He could be pretty forceful at times because he commanded respect and demanded respect from his children, commanded respect from the neighborhood. A.D. King was arrested along with his older brother Martin and 70 others while participating in the October 1960 lunch counter sit-ins in Atlanta. If you remember that, the sit-ins in Atlanta. This happened in the 1960s, was organized by the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The students started these sit-ins. The first sit-in they did was in Goldsboro, North Carolina. The very first sit-in that the students did from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, okay, which at that time was led by H. Ralph Brown, I believe it was. And also John Lewis was a leader of that. Julian Bond was a leader in that. Diane Nash was a leader in that, just to let you know. Now, the Atlanta sit-ins were a series of sit-ins that took place in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of the largest civil rights movement. The sit-ins were organized by the Committee of Appeal for Human Rights, which was organized by his brother, which consisted of students from the Atlanta University Center. This was organized by A.D. King. A.D. King got Martin Luther King to come sit in with that sit-in, which will also bond him with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which would show them that they had something to offer and he appreciated their sacrifice and service. But A.D., anytime his brother went to jail, it was no question. He said, I'll go with you, Martin. Wherever you're going, I'm going to stand up. He wasn't a glory seeker. Some say Ralph Abernathy was a glory seeker because he wrote a book condemning King, let the trumpet sound. And then when it all came tumbling down, these books he wrote in, I think it was 83, he ended up dying. But just the books themselves were psychologically lewd and just socially messy. So a lot of people knew that Ralph Abernathy had a little jealousy of King, but at the same time, if he couldn't be number one, man, he wanted to be the second person standing beside King. And we know that Abernathy was also used to betray King. I'm just being honest. Some people say after death. No, but there are things to show that it may have been before death. Before death. Jesse Jackson, we know, was used the entire time. We know that for a fact now. We know that for a fact. Now let's get back to A.D. King. Jesse's a killer. There's a killer still alive in the Muslim movement too that is responsible for several deaths, including the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Malcolm X, that is still alive too, but I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to touch that. In 1963, King became a leader of the Birmingham campaign while pastoring First Baptist Church of Ensley in Birmingham, Alabama. This is A.D. A.D. King became the leader of the Birmingham campaign while pastoring First Baptist Church of Ensley in Birmingham, Alabama. Now, as you can see, his brother, King's brother, A.D. King, was a pretty strong, intelligent, and forthright individual. Let's talk about the Birmingham Campaign. The Birmingham Campaign, also known as the Birmingham Movement or the Birmingham Confrontation, was an American movement organized in the early 60s, 1963, for instance, by the Southern Christian Leadership Council to bring attention to the integration efforts of Americans in Birmingham, Alabama. Now, on May the 11th, 1963, AD's house was bombed. In August, after a bomb exploded at the home of a prominent black lawyer in downtown Birmingham, outraged citizens, intent on revenge, poured into the streets while rocks were being thrown at gathering police, and the situation escalated. A.D. King climbed on top of a parked car and shouted to the rioters in an attempt to quell the fury. "My friends, we have had enough problems tonight. If you're going to kill someone, then kill me. Stand up for your rights, but with nonviolence." Like his brother, King was a staunch believer in the importance of maintaining nonviolent and direct action campaigns. Now, what is he saying here? And as you can see, he's a pretty formidable opponent to racists. Understanding nonviolence means really, not that they were going there, but really the spirit of martyrdom. Not that they were begging to die, but in the sense, not that they wouldn't defend their lives, because they said they carried guns. The King brothers carried a lot of guns. And Miss Coretta King knew how to shoot guns. The kids knew how to shoot. So the King family carried a lot of guns. So it's not in the sense that they were going to sit there and let somebody kill their wife and children. Nah. But nonviolence is the personal practice of not causing harm to others under any condition. It may come from the belief that hunting people, animals, or environment is unnecessary to achieve an outcome, and it may refer to the general philosophy of abstention from violence. So we know who did that. Mahatma Gandhi, that's a whole nother subject, but he himself was a racist against blacks. But that's the subject for another day. So, unlike his brother, though, King remained mostly outside the media spotlight. He didn't like the media. As one of his associates said, not being in the limelight never seemed to affect him, but because he stayed in the background, many people never knew that he was deeply involved too. King was involved in the Selma demonstration on Bloody Sunday. What was Bloody Sunday? And I'm going to say this because I need to let you know. I must say this, I need to let you know. And there are some things I know about him that I'm not going to let you know. Right? Because we have to have a kind of anonymity. Right? We realize we on this web. We got more than us watching this web. I'll put it that way. The Selma to Montgomery marches were 3 protest marches held in 1965 along the 54-mile, or that's 87 kilometers, a highway from Selma to Alabama. To the state capital of Montgomery, the marches were organized by nonviolence activists to demonstrate the desire of African-American citizens to exercise their inalienable rights. When they marched in this particular march on Bloody Sunday, Dr. King, his wife, and the children, A.D. King, they marched them in there. All right. Bloody Sunday, again, happened in Selma, Alabama. There's the bridge in Selma, Alabama, that they come across that bridge. That's a very famous old bridge. And they came across the bridge, they kneeled down to pray, and they were going to march on into the city. This is where they met with Bull O'Connor. Bull O'Connor, racist police chief. Talk about the Poor People's Campaign, something that Miss Coretta Scott King kept going to her death, and now the Southern Christian Leadership Council continues to push Poor People's Campaign because it's the reason that a lot of black churches have missions. There was a debate between the National Baptist Convention and the Progressive National Baptist Convention, which was started by Dr. King, which is also part of the Southern Christian Leadership Council, that his father did support them fully. And the Progressive National Baptist Convention they got many churches under their convention. But basically, they said that the King, when they were younger, they said that the National Baptist Convention were a bunch of cowards and coons and bootlickers. And they wanted somebody that wasn't just going to go along and get along. So the Southern Christian Leadership Council created the Progressive National Baptist Convention. They will progress by standing up. The Poor People's Campaign was a part of the idea, Operation Breadbasket, of the Progressive National Baptist Convention. And the Poor People's Campaign, or the Poor People's March on Washington, was a 1968 effort to gain economic justice for poor people in the United States. It was organized by Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and carried out under the leadership of Ralph Abernathy. Operation Food Basket and the Sanitation Living Wage Campaign, the March in Washington, and many more. A.D. King tended to stay in his brother's shadow, and many people never even knew that Martin Luther King Jr. had a brother. He supported his brother throughout the movement, but never took the limelight away from him. King's side office at Zion Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky was bombed. That's where he pastored, at Zion Baptist, Louisville, Kentucky. And I believe that was the last place that he did pastor. We're going to talk about him and then come up to his death to talk about his assassination. But we have to be discussing these things, brothers and sisters, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know, and a lot of people don't care. A lot of people don't know, and a lot of people absolutely do not care. And they don't see how this history, they really don't understand how this history is affecting us. When you look and see what Donald Trump is doing, when you look and see what he's doing, you'll begin to understand. If you can truly understand the philosophy of the racists. And you know Donald Trump's a racist, he's just not a hypocrite. And what this means to roll back the time and undo what other people have done is a strong stand of capitalism, and capitalism and racism is one of the same thing. You'd have no capitalism without racism. Because the slaves is who made the white men wealthy capitalists. Let's get back to our brother. Now, King often traveled with his brother and was in Memphis on April 4th, 1968, when his brother was shot. AD was right there when Martin King was shot. You wouldn't know it because he didn't value spotlight. He just liked working. King was in the room directly beneath his brother Martin's at the Lorraine Motel when the gun blast went off, and when he saw his brother lying mortally wounded, he had to be restrained, brothers and sisters, by others due to the shock and overwhelming emotion he was experiencing. He was ready to wall out. But this troubled him. And you can understand that. Ministers are people too. We have to stop being hypocritical, brothers and sisters. Looking for every kind of mistake. We got to stop being hypocritical. Black people, we're the only ones that will maim, depress, overwhelm, and kill our leaders, even verbally, psychologically, emotionally, religiously, spiritually. Some of them deserve it. You got some out there that deserve it. And if they deserve it, I wouldn't stop you from giving it to them. The only way that you're going to keep them in the right place. You got to chastise them because you keep them in the right place. But we've got to stand behind good leaders when we have it. We've got to learn how to not only chastise our leaders, but once we've got them on the right track, stand behind them. But when we got good leaders, we must really stand behind them and support them because we have very few of them left. Very few leaders that care about the people, that truly care about the people. I think I'm the last one. I'm just joking, brothers and sisters. There's some others out there. Many others I know I work with all the time. They help me in our mission, the poor people's mission, to feed, clothe, and educate and give shelter to homeless people. There's a lot of professional Black people out there that are homeless. Doctors, lawyers, school teachers, businessmen, veterans out there on the streets. Some have given up. Some have had nervous breakdown. We got to get busy. That's all I can say. We got to get busy. But there's a reason all of this stuff is up. The Muslims and the Progressive National Baptist Convention worked together. Martin and Malcolm worked together. Coretta and Betty worked together. They built, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to help brothers and sisters in that area. They've been working together the entire time. The white man just not going to tell you that because he'd rather keep you divided. You wouldn't know that Dr. King had a brother if I wasn't talking about it tonight. Some of you knew, but all of you didn't know. We pay homage to our brother A.D. King, the brother of Martin Luther King Jr. Later life, for the last part of his life, he suffered from depression because they killed his brother. This is 1969, 68 through 69. In 1965, King moved to Louisville, Kentucky, where he became the pastor of Zion Baptist Church. This was the last church that he pastored. While there, King continued to fight for civil rights and was successful in 1968 in the 68 campaign to open housing ordinance, which is today a component of the Fair Housing Act in 1968. That was done with A.D. King, King's brother. After his brother's assassination in April 1968, there was a speculation that King might become the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Listen to me. The government and coons, sellout, and buy-inners were afraid that the movement would continue. That King's brother, once brought to the spotlight, would be stronger than King because he was an amazing organizer, very intelligent. He was not afraid, and he was very aggressive in working for human rights and civil rights. After his brother's assassination in April 1968, this is a massive confusion going on at this point. You got Roy Wilkins of the NAACP, a glory and clout chaser. He loved the white man. He was so close to the white man, to the white man's anus, that if the white man stopped, he would go straight in it. Head first. You had Jesse Jackson, a clout chaser. Couldn't hardly talk. But yet he wanted Martin's place. Didn't have the intelligence, didn't have the charisma. He was a very ignorant man. He's still ignorant today. See, anytime they choose somebody, they will always choose somebody that is ill prepared. You had Ralph Abernathy, a straight up Judas, to say the least. Just a Judas. You have Billy Kyle, another useless minister, very useless. These men that I'm naming, none of them had the charisma, the passion, and the wherewithal to lead these people on the goal of commanding rights that the nation wouldn't give us, the rights of being citizen. The black people built this corporation. They built this corporation named America. They built this corporation. The black man and the red man built this corporation. I gotta say the red man because he did too. The black man and the red man built this corporation. The black man and the red man built America as a corporation. Now, when King's dead, the government say, look, we got to take King out. King had made that meeting with Minister Malcolm. Then he made another meeting with Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Then he met with each of them several times. That was a unity and peace summit. Then he's organized talking with his brother. They had the same relationship like John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy had. That's the kind of relationship that A.D. King and ML had. So when John F. Kennedy is killed, who was the heir apparent to the aristocracy of the Kennedys? It would have been Bobby Kennedy, right? Well, when Martin King was killed, him and his brother had the same dynamic going on. You killed Dr. King, everybody was looking at Ralph Abernathy, and they was like, we don't want Ralph Abernathy. We want Dr. King's brother. We don't want Ralph Abernathy. So the government said, look, we got to do something about this. And they found some people that look like us. Come on, brothers and sisters. In April 1968, there was a speculation that A.D. King, Dr. King's little brother, might become the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Now, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference is African-American based, is civil rights based, is Georgia based, and the SCLC is closely associated with its first president, Martin Luther King Jr., who had a large role in the American Civil Rights Movement. It has a Progressive National Baptist Convention, right? Which gave them the activity of the churches. It was A.D. King that was growing or getting other churches to convert to the Progressive National Baptist Convention. So this was some competition even with the National Baptist Convention. So you had some jealous sellout preachers there too, biscuit eaters. Come on, brothers. They were angry with A.D. The black boule, the children of these slave owners and the mammies, they had their little piece of the pie. They didn't want anything, want to rock no boat. They didn't want nothing messed up. You got to do something about A.D., man. You just did something about Martin Luther King Jr., now you got to do something about A.D. This is the talk that's going on. This is the talk that's going on. Many of them knew that the government had killed Dr. King. These people wasn't foolish. It just hadn't come out. Wasn't time for it to come out yet. Now, A.D. King, however, made no effort to assume his deceased brother's role, although he did continue to be active in the Poor People's Campaign and other work on behalf of the SCLC. So they was going to choose him anyway, same way they chose Dr. King. After Martin's death, King returned to Ebenezer Baptist Church, where in September 1968, he was installed as co-pastor with his father. A.D. King was installed as co-pastor with his father in 1968. He was praised by his father as an able preacher, a concerned, loving pastor. We'll talk about his death just a little bit, and then we're going to close. This is just to give you some knowledge. The whole purpose of this podcasts and all the ones I do is to give you some knowledge. See, you're going to have to understand where we went wrong so you can start watching around you. In our progress, we shouldn't have people around us that we can't trust. I don't care who they are. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's your wife. You shouldn't have anybody around you can't trust. You should have people around you that feel responsible for your life, that show some kind of duty. You got to. Ignorant people will get you killed. Selfish people will get you killed. Right? Before time. Before time. Sellout people will get you killed. Buying in people will get you killed. Bootlickers will get you killed. And ass, you know what, will get you killed. Now, on July the 21st, 1969, 9 days before his 39th birthday, A.D. King was found dead in the swimming pool at his home. The cause of death was listed as an accidental drowning. However, it is unlikely that the stress of his brother, it is likely that the stress of his brother, this is what they say. This is what the investigators say. And then I'm going to tell you what I say. I spent the last 4 months studying this before I would even put it out. However, it is likely that the stress, according to some researchers, of his brother's high-profile activist work and the trauma of his assassination exacerbated AD's heart problems, a rumor disclaimed by his wife, Naomi Ruba Barber King, of which there was a family history. 3 of AD's children later died of heart attacks. Alfred Jr. 1986. Darlene at age 20, 1976. And Vernon at age 49 in 2009. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., also died of a heart attack in 1984. His niece, Yolanda, they said died of a heart attack at age 51 in 2007. Now, there is a poison that will give you a heart attack. Arsenic will give you a heart attack. You said, wait a minute. No, you wait a minute. You wait a minute. Miss Coretta Scott King was killed on an operating table in Mexico. Transported to New Mexico, right? Killed in Mexico, transported to New Mexico to be brought back to the state. Don't tell me. You wait a minute. Don't you find it suspicious that all of them died from heart attacks? Don't you find that suspicious and convenient? When you see the work that was done, when you look at the work, don't you find that suspicious? Now, A.D. King, the real story is A.D. King was found in his swimming pool. They say he had drowned. No water was in his lungs, and his wife testified that there were marks around his neck. Come on, brothers and sisters. I'm trying to make you think. I'm trying to make you think. When Yolanda King was killed, we'll call it assassination as well. It was a death that couldn't be explained except by heart attack. Listen, if you have a cardiac arrest, everybody has that when they die. You haven't told me what caused the person to die. You told me what happened after they're dead. You're letting me know what happened after they're dead. Cardiac arrest. You haven't told me what caused the death. Think about that, brothers and sisters. They've been researching John F. Kennedy's death since the time that it happened. They already know who did it, already know how it turned out. Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald, who was a pastor. He never killed John F. Kennedy. Ruby, as soon as he killed him, after a while, somebody killed Jack Ruby. There's a man right now in it's in Illinois, Joliet State Prison in Illinois, and he may be dead by now. It's possibly dead. Who admit to killing John F. Kennedy. The investigator that researched the story, he ended up dead, and I think they killed the man that told the investigator. Once the man taped it, he ended up dead, and then the gentleman that talked about the death of Lee Harvey Oswald and talked about those who killed Kennedy and his involvement in the CIA, he ended up dead. I'm just trying to let you know what's going on, brothers and sisters. Open your eyes. You got black people who go along to get along. That's why you got to be careful about who you let in your camp. Then you got white people that shouldn't be in black movements that help it all. They help destroy and assassinate those that God have sent to deliver us. Same reason Jesus was killed. He was sent to deliver us. I hope you can see. I want you to be able to see exactly what's going on, brothers and sisters. Now, AD's father said in his autobiography, Alveda had been up the night before. She said talking with her father and watching a television movie with him. He seemed unusually quiet and not interested in the film, but he wanted to stay up, and Alveda left him sitting up in the easy chair, staring at the TV. When she went off to bed, I had questions about AD's death, and I still have them now. He was a good swimmer. Why did he drown? I don't know. I don't know what we'll ever know. I don't know that we will ever know what happened. Naomi King, his widow, said, "There's no doubt in my mind that the system killed my husband. My Boaz was murdered." She was his wife involved in the movement. Alveda King, his daughter, was involved in the movement. Yolanda King was involved in the movement. Daddy King was involved in the movement. All of them found something suspicious about his death. All of his children started an investigation. They ended up dead. Come on, brothers and sisters. Come on. So you wonder why this nation would choose a Donald Trump? I don't. I don't wonder why this nation would choose a Donald Trump. I could certainly see how this nation could choose a Donald Trump. I could see how they could choose it. I could see how they could choose a Donald Trump. America is built on racism. It's built on racism. When you stand up, you got to know. You stand up under the Ankh of Kemet, of Ethiopia, of continental Africa. You standing up under the cross of Ethiopia, continental Africa, and global Africa, the Ankh of global Africa, and it could cost you your life. Just standing up for rights could cost you your life. These brothers stood up because they loved somebody. And devils got them killed and demons helped them. Black demons and white devils. That's a fact, brothers and sisters. There's nothing closed that shall not be revealed. Everything shall be revealed. There's nothing that won't be revealed. There's nothing that God won't uncover. And we're in a day where everything is going to be uncovered. When Trump is signing executive orders to release the information on the death of John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? He's doing that because the prophecy of God has led him to do that. He didn't do it on his own, but the prophecy of God. The prophecy of God led him to do it. And God is still in charge. God is still in charge, and if they try to kill you, they can't kill you before time. We all going someday. Will you stand up? We got some. This is it. This is it. This man is showing you exactly who he is. You got common sense, and I know you do. You'll stand up. Brothers and sisters, that's all I have for you. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for watching the show. And peace be unto you. Peace be unto you. Say unto you, Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Peace be unto you. The peace that surpasses all understanding. The peace that surpasses all understanding. May God keep you, strengthen you, encourage you, keep you quick and sensitive to every change, every wind, every doctrine. And may you stand righteous and stand in truth. If I did say it to you in the beginning, I say it to you now. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Peace.